Hey, you're on Rawkus Radio. We are here with Dennis from The Refused. How are you going, man?
Doing really good. How are you?
I'm great. This is the first time The Refused has been in New Zealand. Talk to me kind of how your experience has been with how you find the country.
I love it. I've been here 2 times before with other projects, but it's the first time we Refused, and we've had a really good time. And most of the people in the band are actually staying in New Zealand for a couple of days to travel and do stuff. So, yeah, everyone's really excited about it. It is as far from our hometown as you can get, and then you start going the other way. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
What have you got planned for 2017?
Well, we Refused nothing. We played at Laneways yesterday, and it's like the last show. Well, we're doing one festival in Sweden this summer, but that's it for this entire year. We're in the process of the early stages of writing new material, and I think maybe at the end of the year we'll record a new record, or early next year. So Refused is kind of we're taking a break. We've been touring for like a year and a half, almost 2 years straight, and taking a break. So I have another band called Invasion that's actually releasing a record next week. So I'm actually flying home tomorrow to do press for that. So I'll stay busy. Yeah.
What can we expect of your other band's sort of album?
Well, it's a different project. It's very it's like a post-punk, industrial, dark kind of thing, and we're talking to a label that's going to release a record. So far, it's going to be released in Scandinavia, but we're getting it released worldwide, maybe in May or something like that. And hopefully, we can come down here and play as well. That'd be rad. But it's very, very different. Yeah.
How so? Other than the style, are the lyrics quite different from the stuff you'd expect from The Refused, or?
A little bit. I mean, I write the lyrics, so it definitely has connections to everything I do. But it's a bit different. It's a bit. We used to sing in Swedish, this band. So that was very different, but now we actually do sing in English. But I write a lot of lyrics in Swedish and I translate them, which makes them really different. Like the way you, I think your language and the way you use your language is an indication of how you think. And when I think in English, I do have to translate, even though I'm pretty good at it. I have to sort of like make it small translation, because Swedish is my first language. So when you write in Swedish, it's way more direct. It's way more in touch with what you feel and how you think. So it's a little bit of different vibe to the lyrics as well, yeah.
In terms of translating the lyrics, like, do you find, like, in terms of rhyming, I've always thought, like, words that rhyme in Swedish obviously won't translate to rhyming, so how do you go around that problem?
Well, when you translate from like Swedish to English, you have to sort of the translation is more like the gist of it. It's not so much like it has to be verbatim, word for word. It's more like some lyrics tend to get very, very different in different languages. Like you write something in Swedish, like, it's really good, and you translate it, like, yeah, it turned out right. And it could also be the opposite. You write something in Swedish, and the translation in English actually is better than the original Swedish version. So you have to sort of work your way around a little bit. But it's an interesting. I think what it was, the last record we did with Invasion, we did it both in English and Swedish. We recorded an English version and a Swedish version, and it was so much work. So I was like, this time, well, just don't do it in English. It's too much work. Yeah.
So what is it like when you're playing these songs from 20 years ago, and then everyone's singing back at them like it was 20 years ago, like they haven't missed a beat?
Well, first of all, it's fantastic. It's kind of a privilege that when you start a band, you have these ideas, like kind of in a dream scenario, what you want things to be, and then what we're doing now is kind of like your childhood dream of what it was to be a musician. But also you have to realize that when we were band, because the history of the band, if people don't know, it's like we were banned from 1991 to 1998, and then we broke up, and in 2012 we got back together. So we had a 14-year-old break, and now we've been, since 2012, we've been constantly playing and recording and touring. But in the 90s, when we were a band, we were not a very big band. We were kind of like a peripheral band, and in the hardcore scene we were kind of semi-big. But when we broke up, we became a big band.
Yeah.
So it's a different kind of like. We used to play squats. We used to play like small bars and cafes in front of like 20 to 200 people. And then you get back together like 14 years later, and the first show is like the Coachella Festival in front of 20,000 people. So it's like a very surreal thing.
Yeah.
So a lot of the times when we play these songs, like, I mean, the reception we get now is way better than when we got in the 90s. So it's a bit of a surreal thing, but I mean, you don't get tired of that response. Like, it doesn't matter that the songs are old. Like, if they're relevant in ideas and in music and you get that response, it's still great, yeah.
How does it feel when you get these new bands, they come up and they be like, oh yeah, we're very heavily inspired by The Refused?
I mean, it's always flattering. I mean, it's humbling and flattering. It's cool when people take ideas that you had and turn them into something different or something own. I mean, that's what we did. I mean, we have all these bands that we look up to and that we were inspired by, and then we just try to make our own thing out of it. So it's flattering. It's I think we try to not let it affect us that much. Like, it's such a surreal sort of thing and like experience that it's like it's hard to. Sometimes it's hard to take it seriously because you're like, someone's like, oh, you changed my life. I'm like, yeah, I just wrote some songs, but it's a cool experience, you know.
Yeah.
The Shape of Punk to Come, like the last record we did in the 90s, it was kind of a huge success, like kind of, you know, and so when we decided we're gonna write music, new music, you had to sort of like, that's your opponent. Like, that's when you get in the ring, that's the guy you got to get in the ring with, like that record. And it's a bit scary because people have been living with that record for 14, 15, 16 years, listening to it over and over and over again. And now we have to face that, which was a bit scary. But at the same time, we said, for so long, Refused sort of belonged to someone else. It wasn't our band. It was like an abstraction. It was like, this was my life. And then Refused was some fucking entity that we just did its own thing. So we decided, like, we need to get back and kind of control the fate of the band. Like, what is this band and how can we define it? Because for a long time, we felt that we didn't define the band. And Chris had a riff, and he showed us the riff, and everyone was like, oh, I think we're in good shape. And then we decided that we're not stupid people, so we kind of knew that we knew what people like about Refused.
Yeah.
So one of the things we said when we started writing was like, we need to make a new Refused record. Let's not try to do something that we're not. Let's try. So that was like in our mindset when we were writing. Like, it's supposed to be like a Refused record. I mean, it is different. It doesn't really sound like Shape of Punk to Come. But then Shape of Punk to Come didn't sound like Songs to Fan the Flames with Discontent, and that didn't sound like the record. So it's like, it's all about evolving by keeping that sort of core idea about what you are as a band, you know.